What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 11 of the Boot Report. In today's podcast episode, we are going to go over some really dope leaked Predator 25 Elites in leather, like a Rotero upgrade. We're also going to go over why Nike absolutely fails in the remake department, epic control boot battle, and of course, your questions. Let's hop into section 1 with the weekly news. Now, I wanted to start off with some of the interviews that have been happening for my Pro Blueprint program. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link down in the description box below. It's basically just a, hey, raise your hand, I'm interested, ready to go, and I want to put my name forward for this Pro Blueprint program where we're going to be basically doing like a mentorship community, and we're going to bring together a bunch of elite level athletes and get you guys to your next level. So if you're interested, let me know down in the comments section below. And also click that link. You can schedule a call with me. We're going to do a little interview style, and then I'll get back to you in about a week about whether or not we can get you into the program. Now, in terms of latest colorway drops, we've had some really good boots recently. So first off is, of course, the Vini Jr. boots. Those launched 2 days before the recording of this podcast, I believe. Today's Friday. I think they released on Wednesday maybe, or even Thursday, Aussie time. We leaked them a couple weeks ago in the pod, and I gotta say, they look pretty sensational, both in person and on feet. I've seen a bunch of mates of mine get pairs, and I've gotten a bunch of photos of people buying them, and they look really, really cool. It's one of those signature colorways that absolutely slaps, in my opinion. Way better than a lot of the Haaland colorways of the GX. I would say they're better than, honestly, the Bellingham colorways, although you could argue that silver Bellingham colorway with the maroon tongue that came out pretty recently is pretty sweet looking. So Vini Jr. boots came out. We also got the announcement, although it didn't technically launch, even though a couple of videos came out about them, and every soccer store on the planet talked about the Hypervenom 1 remake, so those are coming very, very soon. I'm guessing we'll have the orange launch colorway first, and then we'll get the white and blue and black colorway that's got some really cool, interesting kind of technology and features in it. And so that one obviously was announced, but you're not able to buy them, I think, until the end of this month, or I think the end of actually June, or maybe some point in June. I'll have to check. I think it's the end of June. So they've launched it almost a month before you can actually buy them, which is cool, but it also means that people can kind of get ready for it, and it also means that there's a lot of hype around the boot as well. And per my philosophical thinking and forward thinking, I don't know what that's called, maybe sightseeing or seeing. It's like the looking into the future, basically. There have been a lot of Hypervenom 1s that have graced the resale market. And of course, we'll get into that in just a minute. Actually, one of the Wear Your Boot Wednesday entrants was a Hypervenom 1. So definitely see a lot more Hypervenom 1, both in the resale market, but also just in the media in general, because those are going to be very, very popular. The other two that we got are the Burnt Orange Vapor 1 Regen boots. I just don't care about these. They're shit. They're not a good boot, and I just don't understand why Nike decides to remake one of the worst football boots ever that they ever created. Yes, I know, Nike people, you're freaking out. I get it's an iconic football boot, but the boot objectively was terrible. It was blister city. It was not good, and they didn't do the remake very well. In my opinion, I think they could have done so much better with the upper. I think they could have waited a little bit to make sure that their Fly Touch Plus was a better material. And look, if you want to make a shitty remake for a shitty original boot, like, okay, but no one's going to care about it. Like, I was at Ultra a couple days ago, and they're struggling to sell the Regens because it's just like no one really cares. And the people who are buying them either fit in them perfectly, which is great. That's awesome. But it's a very small percentage of the population of footballers in the world. And I also just don't think Vapor 1 deserves, out of all the Nike boot, out of all the insane Nike boots that you could have created, I don't know why you picked Vapor 1. Other than the Ronaldo colorway, the R9 colorway. Fair enough, right? Then we got the Road to Glory Adidas pack for the finals and the Women's Euros, so the Champions League final and the Club World Cup final. and the women's Euros, obviously. Although the women's Euros, oh no, sorry, that's Nike. There's a Nike women's Euros pack that's coming out that's really cool. But the Road to Glory pack is very cool. It's white, gold, purple, and black. And I think they look pretty good. I don't know how I feel about the purple accent. The white, black, and gold is obviously timeless, but the purple looks pretty good. I was actually filming a couple videos for Ultra for that pack, and so I've obviously had them in hand. They fit the same as any other. It's a standard F50 Predator and Copa, so there's nothing different about it from a tech perspective, but it is a cool pack, and it does look really, really good. So those are the latest colorway drops. There are maybe a few others that I missed. Let me know if I've missed any in the comments below. So now moving on to boot leak releases. So there's 3 kind of major ones that have popped up. One is, speaking of Bellingham, a pair of Bellingham Predators. Now, these are influenced by Birmingham City, which was his first club that he made it to the top tier in, or to the top level, to the first team. And they are black, white, and blue, and I think they look fabulous. I think this is definitely a boot that I might pick up just because it very much matches my brand colorway. It matches the boot report colorway, and it's definitely something that I really, really love looking at. And so, yes, I do, of course, love this pair of football boots, but having the kind of the opposite color almost of black, white, and blue, and then you have white, black, and red, like that's kind of dope. And it would be cool to do like a side-by-side comparison of the two. So I might actually pick up the Bellingham Predators, and the only reason for that, I'm not usually a special colorway guy. I'm not going to pick up the Vini Jr. boots, you know, those types of things. I just want them because they actually look really dope, and I don't really care if they're associated with Jude or not. We also got photos of another Haaland colorway they're like a navy orange, yellow, and red. They don't look very good, if I'm honest. They're like a 3 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10. Nike's leaning quite heavily into Haaland and being very elemental. He's a force of nature. It's that Force 9 logoing that we saw. Oh, this says Haaland. This was his first colorway, but the blue with the flames, which I think I still have a pair of, actually. Anyway, so those Force 9 colors, that's sort of the branding. So they're going with very earthy tones, very elemental, fire, brimstone, crashing waves, that kind of thing. Things that are inevitable, if you will. That's sort of the marketing behind it. This colorway just misses the mark, in my opinion. It's really not very good looking. And also, it's probably going to look terrible in a Man City kit, assuming, obviously, he stays there for many years. Then the final one, which I'm very excited for, is the Adidas Predator 25 Elite Special Edition in leather. So it's essentially the David Beckham or the Rotero of the 25 generation, which I think is going to be absolutely awesome. So if they can figure out how to make either a fusion skin or a all calf leather like they did with the Predator 24, Rotero, and David Beckham models, that boot might be sensational. If they can figure out if the Predator 24 Elite to Predator 25 jump in quality, comfort, performance is echoed in the Rotero David Beckhams to this new black, white, and red leather Predator in the 25 generation, I'm going to be very, very happy. I know a mate of mine, Texas cleat collector Justin, basically sings his Rotero song on a very regular basis because he absolutely loves them. I echo that sentiment. I think they're incredible football boots. Maybe I'm not as much in love with them as he is, because I think that's it's pretty funny to listen to him on his podcast talk about it. But I know he's going to pick up a pair for sure. I definitely will get a pair if I can get my hands on them for a reasonable price, and then we go from there. But very cool boot leak releases. Now, in terms of new in the shop, in terms of news, the only thing that I have still is the Monarcitas, which I still haven't reviewed. It's been a really lovely down couple weeks in terms of review making, and it's allowed me to test some more boots and test stuff that I've already had reviews of, and just get a better sense of what's going on in the stuff that I actually still have in my duffel bag that I take out to the pitch every day. So, or not every day, but every time I go out to the pitch. So that is been actually really nice. So I actually don't have anything else in the shop, which is the first time in a while, which seems crazy, but it's really nice actually. And it's allowed me to focus on a couple other things, including the pro blueprint stuff. Right, moving on to section 2, boot talk. We are going to start with an epic control boot comparison. This has been requested a bunch, and I have already done a full-length YouTube video on the GX2 versus the previous generation of the Predator. And in that video, I believe the GX was the winner, but we will have to find out which one of these is the winner for this comparison. So this is, of course, the Predator 25. Elite, I am using the fold over tongue, but you can totally, this is relevant to the other regular laced tongue model as well. This is of course just related to the GX2 and really the Luna, because the Luna is the same boot. So any of the laced models, not the laceless, and either of the GX2 or Luna 2. So we're going to go over sole plate, upper heel comfort, performance design, lace area, and X factor. Now let's go with sole plate first. Now, you guys have probably heard me absolutely just dump on the Cyclone 360 sole plate, and I will probably not, I'll probably save you from that right now. Needless to say, the control frame 2.0 on the Predator is my winner by a landslide. I think it's more balanced. It feels better under feet. Yes, if you have longer grass, the Cyclone 360 sole plate might be better just because the studs are so much longer. So it's sort of that, you could almost argue it's good on SG surfaces because the studs are all bladed and they're very long. So whereas you can play on an AG pitch with these ones, you'll lose your warranty, of course, if they break, but you could use these on AG, whereas these ones, I really highly don't recommend it. I just grab an AG pair, which I have 2 of back here. And if I'm going to play on AG surfaces, I'm going to wear the AG version of the GX2 because it's just too much. Like, it's just not enjoyable to play in. It feels very hot spotty and all that. So easily sole plate goes to the Predator. Now, in terms of upper, I think this is going to split opinions here. I think you could argue that this is a tie in terms of upper. But I do think in terms of just the way that the boot feels, in terms of how special it is, I actually think the grip knit wins out. I think it's a very unique experience. I think it's more unique than hybrid touch because we now have a bunch of brands trying to do the hybrid touch formula. Think Sokito with their BioTouch upper. It's very similar to this, except it's a little thinner and maybe a little bit softer. The Messi F50, which is, of course, the same brand, but you have another boot that's doing the same thing. And I realize that grip knit is also on the Vapor, so maybe this is a little bit redundant, but I do feel like the grip knit is just a little bit more of a special material. And so the upper and the general construction of this upper is going to win for me. Now, in terms of heel area, as you can see, this is an easy one. The contouring of the Predator is way better, in my opinion. It's going to cause some people issues, and oddly enough, I think more people are going to fit in the GX2 heel area, but I think the Predator heel area is better because it's more contoured. It feels more locked in when you actually fit in it, and it's a really, really great heel area. So that goes to the Pred. Then we go on to comfort. Now, this is also going to split opinions because I think the hybrid touch upper is very, very comfortable. But in terms of a boot that you can just get into and not have to really worry about break-in time, the GX2 wins for me. This is a boot that obviously fits my foot perfectly. And in fact, the Predator also fits me basically perfectly. I need about 30 minutes of break-in time for this hybrid touch upper, especially with this 25 generation. But the comfort of a knit upper, so long as it's done really well, which obviously the grip knit is done very, very well, this is more comfortable for me. If I'm going to put both on my feet, this feels like an extension of my foot, just an extra piece of material, whereas this actually feels like a pair of boots. And I guess it depends on what you like, but for me, the GX2 wins on comfort. Now, in terms of performance, I'm going to give this one a tie. I think these are both exceptional, very, very good top-end football boots. The GX2 is obviously lacks a little bit in the sole plate area, but overall, if you're playing on the most ideal surface for either boot, they're both going to perform at such a beautifully high level. I think you cannot go wrong so long as you fit in both. And in fact, I would say that most people are going to fit in both boots, which is another benefit of these two top end models. So the performance, it's going to be a tie. Now, in terms of design, for me, this is an easy one. I think the GX2 is an okay design. Again, let's save the colorway. If this was a different colorway, awesome. But as I've mentioned before, in terms of the Nike Phantom series, I don't think this even comes close to the top 4, probably top 5. It's fine looking, but it doesn't really look good. Whereas the Predator looks beautiful. It's a gorgeous pair of football boots in most of the colorways that they've come out with. Obviously, some of these weird Pure Victory, whatever the other, I don't even know. They've come out with so many colorways, but a lot of the top colorways, right? The whiteout, the blackouts, these ones, white and blue, all the really good colorways of these look absolutely fantastic. And just as a silo, the Predator, in my opinion, just looks better. So from a design perspective, Pred wins. Now, lacing area is also, again, a bit of a personal preference in terms of whether you like a monosock style construction or whether you like the standard U-throat tongue. I'm going to give it to the Predator 25 because if you take all of the silos in the Elite series of the 25, you get laceless and you get 2 laced options, one with a fold-over tongue, one without, whereas with this one, you just get the knit tongue. So I'm going to give the lace area to the Predator. I just think it's a little bit more standard, and I think it's going to be more suitable for more people. Now, in terms of X Factor, I am going to give that to the GX2. As I said before, I think the grip knit is a sensational piece of kit, and it is definitely something that I think if you have the chance to try it out, you should, even if you don't like grip elements. I realize some people are going to complain, oh, I don't want to play with grip elements. They distract me. They make me kick a ball weird. Yes and no. You can get used to a pair of football boots pretty easily. Any footballer can at the top level, at the bottom level. You just got to start thinking outside the box a little bit. So with that in mind, I would highly recommend you try the GX2 or the Vapor. Doesn't really matter. Just because experiencing the grip knit technology is really cool. It's the same reason why I would say for people who didn't ever try the original Hypervenom 1, go and get the remake if you can, try it out, and then sell it for 120% of what you bought it for, despite it being used, just to experience the Nike skin tech, because it is such a unique sensation on feet. I say the same thing about grip knit. So in terms of how we stack up, so the Pred has 1, 2, 3, 4, and a tie point. So that's 5. And then the GX2 has upper, comfort, and X Factor, and a tie. So 4 points. So the winner is actually the Predator 25. I'm curious to know with the new Phantom 360 coming out, what that's going to do. Based on how it looks and the colorways, I'm going to guess the Predator is still going to be on top, but we will probably do a full comparison video as well. But for me, out of these 2 control boots or power boots or whatever you want to call them, the Predator 25 Elite wins out. All right, next for Wear Your Boot Wednesday winner. Now, this was packed with insane boots this week. I don't know how, whether it was just the vibe of Wear Your Boot Wednesday or what happened, but we got some insane bangers. People were wearing the Wave Cup SSs, which is awesome to see, but 2 really stood out to me. So as I mentioned before, Hypervenom 1s are now out in the wild, simply because there's a lot of hype around the new model coming out. So the honorable mention for Wear Your Boot Wednesday goes to I know it's cheesy, and he was wearing Hypervenom 1s on feet, and then he had a little photo of like a on feet of the locker room where he had the Hypervenom 1s on feet, and then in his bag he had a pair of the Hypervenom 2.5s, so the Nike skin, when they went back to the Nike skin with the Flywire in it, and then Hypervenom 3s in the locker room. So he had all generations, all the best of the 3 generations of Hypervenoms, which was pretty cool. So that was the honorable mention. And then the winner, in my opinion, this is by, I don't want to say a landslide, but I was super excited to see these. This goes to Burns Boots, a mate of mine, and he had a custom pair of Adler Yatagarashus in red with, wait for it, here's the spec sheet. So red leather upper, you'll see photos and stuff. Red leather upper, white leather tongue, which is something I didn't know you could do. I will definitely, with my custom pair right here, I would have probably preferred a white tongue because I think it just looks really good. So white leather tongue, he had white laces, and then he got a red pair of replacement laces. Both of those are Itogo, which is one of the highest quality grip laces on the market. They're amazing. They're from Japan. a Carvo insert, a midfoot shank, and white stitched custom ID. And he also went for the narrow last. So in the custom Adler process, you can basically customize all of those pieces, and those boots look absolutely fantastic. The only thing that I would have done differently is I would have gotten the wide last to his. I would have gotten the wide last in this color blue, and then I would have kept and then done my own ID, and I would have kept everything else the same. But absolutely fantastic, Burns Boots. Thank you for bringing your awesome custom Adlers to the table there. So in terms of moving on now to performance breakdowns. So this is 1 month reviews are what I want to talk about this week. And this, I really want to be more of a two-way conversation. For those of you listening, I would really appreciate some feedback in the comments on this one, just for my own, just for a conversation between us, because I think I've been struggling with when, who, how, what boots to post for the 1 month reviews, because with the volume of boots that I'm putting out and how much we have backlogged, Kelvin and I, in terms of how much content there is, adding 1 month reviews to that is, or adding back in, I should say, 1 month reviews when I'm not playing full time anymore is incredibly difficult with everything else I have going on. That's not to say that I don't want to bring them back, because I think it's an awesome format. I absolutely love it. But I'm curious to know a couple questions that I had written down for you guys that I would really love feedback on. Like, genuinely, this is like, I want you to help me kind of cater the content to be the best for you guys. Number one is, how important are 1 month reviews to you? So if you were to ask in the comment section, what's the durability like of the Predator 25 Elite? I've worn those a bunch of times now. They feel perfect on my feet. I can tell you what the durability is like. They're awesome. And I've worn them on a bunch of different playing surfaces. But there hasn't been an official 1 month review of that boot yet. So how important are 1 month reviews to you in terms of the context of now, the new format of video with it's a in studio plus a play test, which is a lot of work, right? And again, no complaints there. It's just understand how much more work a 1 month review takes with all of the boots that I have going on. And then I don't probably have time to do every single boot. I straight up don't. It's not even a kind of. I don't have time to do every single boot as a 1 month review that I review. So if I review 100 and right now I'm on track to do 2 a week, 52 weeks a year, 104. So about 104 different boots that I will be reviewing and play testing. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do all those as 1 month reviews, particularly if I'm going to do 100 boots in a year. So what do you reckon in terms of the most mainstream stuff? Do you want a poll system? Should it be part of the pro blueprint, right? Should the community be the only place that I really post like wear test stuff outside of the initial play test? And then is there a format you'd rather have? So instead of 1 month reviews, do you want something else? So anyway, in terms of performance breakdowns, I've really been tossing up in terms of the 1 month reviews. How valuable are they to you guys? I know a lot of people have been requesting them, but again, it's very difficult because it does take time, where now, because I'm not playing every day anymore, when I was playing every day, it would be really easy for me to go, okay, 2 training sessions a week for the next month. So 8 sessions total. I'm going to go and wear GX2 and I'm going to absolutely smash it. And it's no skin off my back because I'm doing those training sessions anyway. Whereas now that I'm not playing for a team, I'm actively going out to work, essentially, right? It's going out to the field every single time. And I don't have the time to go out twice, 3 times a week with the volume. Like, it would probably take me going out to the field 3 or 4 times a week, which I don't have time for, to do every single boot that I review. So that's just a little bit of context. So if there's maybe it's like, okay, I want a 1 month review on all of the top end Nike, Adidas, and Puma's models. Okay, great. I can probably handle that. If it's any more than that, which ones are they? How important it is to you? So would love that feedback down in the comment section below. So thank you for all of those. Thank you for every single one of piece of your feedback, because it really is valuable to me. And I want this content to be enjoyable and valuable to you guys within reason in terms of like what I can actually do on pitch on a weekly basis. Now moving on to pro versus retail models. So this is just a quick comment about Hypervenom 1. I love that the hype train is, this feels a lot like what they did with the original Hypervenom 1 remake, or original Hypervenom 1 with Neymar, in terms of hyping it up, the crazy marketing that they put behind it. It's a little different now, but we're already seeing Lewandowski wearing them, Lautaro Martinez, Alexi Putellas, like all of these pro players have been spotted wearing these boots and the new Hypervenoms, which is so cool. And it looks like all of them are wearing the standard Hypervenom 1 remake without any modifications, which makes sense for a limited edition release. Fair enough. It's like when Garnacho was wearing the Vapor 1 regens. It didn't look like he had stud swapped them or done anything like that. It was just a pair of the Vapor 1 regen boots, and it's probably just because he wanted to wear them. So that's pretty cool. So in terms of pro and retail models, it looks like all the pros are actually wearing the ones that we're going to get, which is pretty sweet. I would guess that all three of those players that I mentioned have got the boots and they have their own custom fit, but from a bird's eye view and from the photos that we can see, they do look like they're the standard model with the Hypervenom 3 sole plate and the Hypervenom 1 upper. There doesn't look like anything that much different in terms of what they are. So in terms of boot culture and trends, we are in a world of remakes right now, and I want to talk about who does remakes better, or best, I should say. There's a very clear answer to me, and that is Adidas. And outside of Adidas, we've seen remakes from Mizuno, kind of. We've seen remakes from Nike, and that's kind of it. Puma hasn't done any remakes. They've done a metric shitload of colorways, but they haven't done remakes. And I think Adidas is crushing it. Now, why are remakes important? Why do remakes even exist? Because we always think, well, technology moves forward. Even a brand like Mizuno, with their philosophy of small incremental improvements over time, they still improve their boots over time, which we'll talk about. Also, there was a good question this week about this. So this is interesting. So I talked about this in one of the videos this past week, and I am trying to remember which one it was. So I released the F50 leather remake and the Morelia Neo 4 Beta with the Alpha sole plate innovation pack boot. So both of those. It was an absolutely banger week for boot reviews. One of those videos I talked about basically why remakes exist is because players like me who were, let's say, 15 in 2010 when the World Cup happened in South Africa, and we saw all of these insane models like the one up there, and I am hopefully going to collect the entire collection. I would love to. And of course, the Adidas remake, or the Adidas OG F50 Adizeros, both in leather and in synthetic. We have now grown up 10 years, 15 years later, and we now have the spending power and the money to buy those original ones. And so the cycle of remakes goes on maybe let's say let's average it out to about a 20-year product cycle. You bring back and you think about, for me, I always harken back to the car industry because I'm really a big petrol head. If I think about the cars that were on my wall, it was Murcielago, Lamborghini Murcielago, the Diablo, original like RS4 Audi, the R8 from the Iron Man movie. What else? Like those are the big ones, right? And so from a boot perspective, it was the 2010 World Cup boots from Nike. It was the Clash Pack from Nike in 2012. And maybe one other one. And then the 2014 World Cup, which was also an amazing, like the boots that came out of that were incredible as well. So that's an interesting commentary, in my opinion, on why remakes are important. But the real question is, that's more pertinent to you guys, is why don't other brands do what Adidas has done, which is create a constant kind of dripping Predator remake. Every once in a while we get like a Mania or a Pulse or maybe a Power Swerve soon. That would be cool. But we've seen all these little drip. Okay, every 4 to 6 months we get like a new Predator remake that takes modern day technology, throws it into the design and sort of the aura of a modern or a previous model, right? And I think that is really, really cool. I wish Nike would do that, but I think their footballing department is struggling at the minute for a lot of reasons, and I wish they would hire somebody like me to help figure their shit out, because they are losing a lot of market share and it's not getting any better, which is a bummer. So Adidas absolutely crushing the remake world. Mizuno has done a great job when they do release a remake. Technically, the Wave Cup SS is a remake, sort of, even though it's still a 1-to-1 or close enough to a 1-to-1. So that's technically a remake. And then that's pretty much it. Oh, they did make the Wave Ignitus. That was cool. And that was I believe that was a 1-to-1, or it was, again, very Wave Cup SS-esque type remake where it's really close to the original. And those are awesome. I wish Mizuno would do it more often, just because their boots, especially I wish they would come out with a Rebula remake, and then they do another Wave Ignitus with the carbon plate on the bottom, and then they do another Wave Cup. Make them different colors. You don't have to do a remake colorway, but to bring out that boot every 6 months or so would be so cool. And I think there are so many boots from Nike. You think Hypervenom 1, you think Superfly 4, even something like the Superfly 2 or 3 that's no one would ever wear. But God, I would much rather have a remake of one of those than the Vapor 1 Regen boots, whatever the fuck those were. So I don't know. That's just some boot culture and trends. We are in a world of remakes now. And I think part of that is because the boot brands aren't putting a ton of thought and effort into their current generation boots. And they're kind of like, what do we now come up with? Because we feel like we've done everything. And Adidas is obviously owning that market, which has been pretty cool. All right, section 3, market report. Now, in terms of resale market trends, there is a lot of really cool stuff coming out of the woodwork now that aren't sort of quick flip options for the resellers and scalpers out there. Things that are pure victory pack or cosmic victory or celestial victory or whatever bullshit Adidas is trying to put out. Those are really easy to flip, because oftentimes when so much volume is coming out of the factories, if you have a factory connection, you can get at least a size run, maybe a single size or, a little bit of a bell curve size run on a certain silo, and then you can sell them. You got them at 50% or 40% of what they're actually worth. You can sell them for 80%, which still is a 20% discount. Business. So that's been good for resale market trends. We've seen some really cool stuff coming out. And without further ado, my favorite, probably one of my favorite sections, is the notable boots resurfacing. This week was unbelievable. We got 3 dealers, 4 pairs of football boots. And I want to give a massive shout out to a homie of mine, Cleats AU. And she put up Hypervenom 3 DFs with the EA Sports Edition. I think they're a US 10, I believe. I'll have to go back and look. I think they're a US 10. And put the special edition GX1s up in, what is that colorway called? I'm going to be totally, they are called absolutely beautiful. I really actually want to buy these. I think I might get them just because they are so good looking. Okay. So US 10, the EA Sports, there's the story. EA Sports, there's the 10 US. And then she also put up, what are they called? Nike United Pack. I was like, what are they? And the Nike United Pack. These are number 137 out of 164. And they're in my size. Oh, I kind of want to buy them. But we will see, because they're probably going to cost an arm and a leg, which I don't mind paying for a crazy boot. However, the United Pack GX1 might not be the one I go for if I'm going to spend that kind of money, because they're probably going to end up being like $500 or $600 Australian dollars, which is a lot for a pair of boots like that. And I already have a bunch of GX1s. So But anyway, super, super dope. If you are a size 10 or a size 9 US, you should absolutely hit her up. She's got a bunch of other, she got like Tiempo Legend 9 Elites available and some other stuff. Super, super dope. Another guy that put up Rare Boots DE put a OG. What did I tell you about remakes? F50 Adizero in yellow. Yes. Exactly what I said the dealers would do. As soon as Nike or Adidas or Puma release a remake, you're going to see the OG one put onto the market. So Rare Boots DE has probably been sitting on these for quite a while now, and has, now that we have the shit regular F50 with just a yellow paint job, go and buy the legit one. And I think it's actually a 9 US as well, so it's a pretty standard size. And that one is really cool. And then the final one that I didn't actually know if I wanted to put on here, but my guess is that the price point of this boot is going to be incredibly, incredibly expensive. And therefore probably pretty prohibitive for most people listening to this, including maybe myself. I actually DM'd this guy at boots_not_dead. Boots not dead. The red Hypervenom 3 Monteballunas, which are incredibly rare. You guys know that I have the blue ones up there, and those are already super, super rare, but the red ones are like never seen on the market. This pair is in my size with the box and bag still. I don't know if they're brand new. You guys will have to, I will probably have to do a community post in the next week once I have a conversation with this guy about like how much it's going to be. And my guess is they're going to be like $1,000 US. And I just am not going to pay that much. However, if there's a deal, I'll be there for it, you know? Because I would really love to have both in the collection, as Hypervenom 3 is my favorite boot of all time. So those are the notable boots resurfacing, some absolutely crazy ones, which I love. Now, in terms of stock availability and drops, there are sales happening all over the place, it seems, right now. Australia is it is the end of the financial year in Australia. No idea why they do it this way. They should just go calendar year. It makes absolutely zero sense. I love this country. It's fun to live in. But there are some things here where I'm just like, and the same in America, but there are some things where I'm like, what is happening? Why is the end of the financial year in June? That makes no sense. Especially because our summer is December, January. So it's not like in America where the school year ends in, May, June, and then you have summer break and everyone's off. Okay, cool. That would make sense. End of financial year. It's all wrapped into one. Nah. They're all over the place, which, by the way, makes doing taxes an absolute nightmare for somebody like me, because I get taxed in both countries. No, I don't get double taxed, but I get taxed in both countries, and then there's points associated with, and so I end up paying like how do I say this? Okay, here's a good example. If I have to pay this is way off on numbers, but easy example. If I have to pay 10% in America, and I have to pay 20% tax on everything that I earn in respective countries across the world, 10% in America and 20% in Australia, I get 10% worth of credits or dollar amount or whatever amount of credits, and it transfers over. So then I only pay the Aussie government the remainder percent, right? So it'd be 10% here and 10% here as opposed to 30% total. But getting all that together is an absolute nightmare. So lots of sales happening. Anyway, here's your tax lesson for the boot report. And lots of huge drops coming for the tournaments. What was it called? Now I'm going to forget it again. Road to Glory Adidas pack obviously just came out for the tournaments. You'll see Nike come out with their Euro pack colorway. There's going to be some other random personalization colors for specific players and golden boot winners and all that stuff. Ballon d'Or people, et cetera. But there is a lot of sales happening right now. I just made a reel for Ultra. This is not a plug for Ultra, but I just made a reel for Ultra where they gave me this spreadsheet of like 20 different pairs of boots that were somewhere between like 30 and 50% off. And I went around the store and like grabbed them and did a little reel. You'll probably see it up on the Ultra page, but that's just to say that there are a lot of sales going on right now. So if you're interested in a pair of boots and you want like a mainstream model, like a, GX2 or a whatever, wherever you live, contact the biggest retailer. And I'm sure they're having sales, lots of boot sales for the regular edition models, which is great. All right. Section 4. your questions. You too can ask questions at noahcavanaugh.com/podcast. Submit your questions, and every week on Wednesday, I usually post an Instagram story for you to go to the website, plug in your question, and then send it off to me. And then I get to compile those and get them sent to my little show notes for today. Josh, are Nike slipping? Players leaving, clubs leaving, boots not being innovative as once were, and remakes being nostalgia bait? The short answer is yes. The semi-long answer is that Nike in the last 5 years has gone through a unfortunate change in the way that they operate to the public. And so they pulled, when COVID happened, they pulled a lot of their relationships with resellers or retailers, not resellers. So stores like Dick's Sporting Goods or maybe Dick's was still a retailer of those, but there were, think like Unisport, soccer.com, whatever. There were all these sort of much smaller scale shops that all of a sudden didn't have distribution licenses through Nike. And it was just a whole maddening scheme where they were like, well, if player wants our boots, they have to order through Nike.com instead of through soccer.com or instead of through your local soccer store, for instance. And I think that really destroyed a lot of the relationships with Nike. And so when, like I would do, I love going to the mom and pop shop in town, whatever soccer store exists in that city that we're living in. When I was in Rochester, I know it's not a mom and pop shop, but Dick's Sporting Goods, for example, they have one of their flagship stores is in Rochester of all places. And so I used to go there to try on a bunch of pairs of boots, and that's where I would get some of my stuff that I didn't get for free, etc. In Melbourne, it's Ultra Football, right? I love going to Ultra Football, but if they didn't have Nike stuff, I honestly might just say like, okay, screw that. I'm not going to buy Nike boots. And if I'm still playing, I'm going to wear Adidas because it's easier to get at Ultra as opposed to trying to order it from nike.com.au, et cetera, et cetera. So throughout the last 5 years, maybe a little bit more, they've pulled a lot of funding from their footballing and they've gone into other stuff. And as I said before, I would love to work with the Nike design team, and I would love to work with the marketing team, and I would love to work with the higher ups because I'm like, I would love to do strategy for Nike football because I think they are really struggling and it doesn't seem like they have a lot of direction. And I think this is the first time in a while since, you could argue, maybe like 2015, where Nike hasn't been the dominant player in football around the world. And that includes kit stuff, that includes sponsorships for teams and players and endorsements and et cetera, and technology and et cetera, right? You see Puma coming up. You see Mizuno starting to dominate. You see Adidas obviously absolutely dumping on Nike right now in all sorts of avenues. And so it's unfortunate because I love Nike stuff, right? I'm wearing a Nike shirt, right? A Nike running shirt right now. And I just think they're slipping big time. And it's really unfortunate because it's a super cool brand with a buttload of heritage. And I just, I wish they would do better. Like Nike, just do better. I did a review on the GT2 in orange, and I went half a size down, did a whole play test. You guys should go watch that video. But the whole thesis was basically, y'all are sucking shit right now, which is unfortunate, right? Because everybody loves Nike stuff. Keyshawn asks, which Nike boot had more popularity and suited your comfort and playing style, Hypervenom 1 or Superfly 4? That's why I brought these boys out. All right. So Superfly 4, absolute icon of the game, introduced Flyknit, reintroduced Carbon, all that. And then Hypervenom Phantom 1, which I don't need to speak about at all because there's a remake and everyone knows about them. What boot had more popularity? Hypervenom 1 is the answer. And what suited your comfort and playing style? Also Hypervenom 1. Now, which one was more influential? This one. That's because once this boot came out and the Magista Ober one, the entire boot world completely changed because it went to knit. It went to the high cut collars. It completely changed the whole boot scene. And that is why these are the most influential, debatably the most influential football boots of all time. You could argue. However, this is the one that more people will remember because it was so, the marketing around Neymar and the Hypervenom 1 was genius. Like, in my opinion, in 10 years time, we're going to say the same thing about Predator 24 when they reintroduced hybrid touch pred and all that stuff with Jude Bellingham as he was coming into Real Madrid and absolutely dominating everybody. We're going to say the same thing about that launch and the Jude association as we did with Neymar and the Hypervenom. Mark my words. Because and in the same way that this boot is remembered, the Predator 24 probably won't go down as one of the best Predators of all time. Like the Hypervenom isn't, the best Venom in my opinion of all time, or Phantom. However, the marketing around those two boots were absolutely second to none. Like, I don't know if I can think of another boot that had as much insane hype around it. They did do a really good job of what was that commercial called? With the Magista and they did that like Nike World Team with Ibra and Ronaldo and Iniesta and all those guys, Rooney and all those guys. When it was like the cartoon, it was like the people versus the robots. And it was like the whole thing was creativity and whatever. Genius marketing. That era of 2013 to 2014, amazing, amazing. Keyshawn also asks, do you think the new Hypervenom sole plate will be more durable than the OG version? Well, in terms of sole plate, both are going to be durable. The OG sole plate is totally durable. I think what you're really asking is, will the upper be as durable? And I don't know because I don't have them in hand. Gregory asks, if there were a second generation of F50 Messi, what improvements would you make? Great question. I think it would be cool to have, I'd actually keep the sole plate. I think it's a really good sole plate. I really like this one. I would make the shape a little bit better. I would delete the burrito style tongue in favor of maybe a standalone U-throat tongue. Keep it the same material and stuff, but do a standalone U-throat tongue, or for shits and gigs, do the compression fit tunnel system and then get the heel area sorted out, because this heel area is not all that good. So fix the shape, redo the tongue, and redo the heel a little bit. And then I think you'd have a boot that is really, really fantastic. So just follow suit of what Soquito did. Not in terms of the sole plate, but in terms of the upper, the shape, maybe make this a little bit less stiff, make it a little bit softer. And again, relatively speaking, this is actually quite a soft upper, but Soquito is like totally bends this over in terms of softness. So that's what I would do. Mert asks, do you think ex-pro players have better boot opinions because they test more intensely and in-game than others? So this is an interesting question because I don't know. I'm the only one in the industry, as far as I know, that has been or is currently a professional player. So this question is kind of weird because it's like, are you asking if I think my opinion is more valid than other people? The answer is definitely not, because there are other people in the industry that have an insanely extensive knowledge of football boots, and their opinions are just as valid as mine are. People just need to understand context. It's not like my opinion is better than somebody else's. It's a matter of my opinion is different from somebody else's because of my history and my context of playing professionally. Whereas another reviewer who's attached, so let's just get real, okay? So as far as I know, you've got a couple different reviewers that are in the market that I pay close attention to, right? You have SR4U Josh, you have Boot Wizard with James, and then you have J Mike and Unisport, and then there's a couple others kind of dabbled in there that are on the up and coming, which is awesome. James hasn't played professionally before, but he's got a very unique perspective as his own channel because he's been around for a really long time, right? So he's tried a bunch of stuff, and he's a player who doesn't do regular leather. I think either he's fully vegan or he only does vegan products, but he doesn't review any leather, like K-leather, cow leather, anything. So that's a super interesting perspective from his context, right? And he's in England, or he's in the UK. And then if you go over to Unisport and J-Mike. J-Mike has a super extensive, he's been in the industry forever, and he's got a great perspective on football boots. His context is he's still playing. He's been playing for a really long time. So he's an active player. He's testing boots all the time. And he's attached to a store. So they have to sell stuff. And so he can be honest about his thoughts and his feelings on his Instagram page and on the Unisport channel. And he's also able to sell those boots. So that's his context. Again, I'm not like dunking on anybody. I don't want to dunk on anybody. The point is that, and then let's go for Josh. Josh is in Canada, I'm pretty sure. And Josh has been around forever, and his format has been really consistent. If you look at his videos from 15 or 14, 13 years ago or whatever, those early ones are fairly similar, with obviously some pretty clear upgrades, to today. They're very similar. So if you watch his reviews over time, he's giving you the same quality and consistent information over the course of time, right? So in all of these cases, and then coming from my perspective, I come at it from an obsession with football boots, tried on basically everything in the last couple decades, and I come from a professional background. So I've actually worn a lot of these boots at a pro level in games and in training sessions. And so again, it's not better or worse. It's simply different. And the more we have in the market in terms of like the YouTube world, right? The review world, the more the market will filter out the ones that they don't necessarily enjoy or like. So if you are somebody who really enjoys Josh's super consistent, very, very comprehensive reviews, you might go subscribe to his channel or watch his channel, but you're like, what Noah says like is a little too, let's say, biased towards performance and a little bit too biased towards like really intense training sessions and stuff. And I'm more of a casual player. That's totally fine. That's the whole point. The point is that you can find the reviewers that work best for you. So that's a bit of a rant. But in terms of your question, Mert, in terms of like, do ex-pros have a better opinion? Absolutely not. We just have a different context. And that is the case for any review. Like if you look at tech reviews or car reviews, like everyone's got their own context and history. And that's what makes building a brand so fun, because you have the opportunity to show your context and your history. Tony asks, if you could have one boot with another boot's colorway, what would it be? Ooh, that's a freaking great question. Okay, right off the top of my head, I want my custom Adler Yatagarasu in Predator. I want a turquoise blue or like a royal blue, like my brand blue color base with white stripes, black accents, and a white tongue. I think that would be sick. So that's my answer. Good question. Let me take a sip. Alessio asks, what's your take on Adidas AG line? Why is it so hard to find until the recent F50 or Predator 25s? Adidas didn't make AG boots in very many markets because I don't think there was demand for them. And the reason for that is because a lot of pitches years ago were still natural grass. And so as the world has gone towards AG, then that's just what we're going to get a little bit more often. What do I think of Adidas AG line? It's fine. I just buy the FG models because realistically, the three sole plates that they have now, so the Speed Frame 360, the Control Frame 2.0, and then the Comfort Frame, which is on the Pure 3, all three of those stud patterns are basically identical in terms of stud layout, and they all feel balanced, and none of them are super aggressive. It's not the difference between a Vapor and the Tiempo sole plate, right? Which is very, very different in terms of how aggressive they are. The AG sole plates from Adidas are sort of like whatever. I just buy the FG models. It's much more different, for instance, going from a Mizuno firm ground to a Mizuno AG, or a Nike FG to a Nike AG. It's very different. Whereas Adidas's AG sole plates are just like, we're going to take the same stud pattern and we're just going to put conical studs everywhere instead of these little triangular studs. And it like really doesn't make that much of a difference in my opinion, other than the warranty. So if you are somebody who plays a lot on AG surfaces, go buy the AG because it's not that different from FG, and then you'll save your warranty if they rip. So good question. Okay. Miguel asks, what do you think of 11 boots and their insole / midsole insert? So for those of you who don't know, 11 Boots is this really cool brand, and I'm not sponsored by them. I don't even think he knows who I am, but it's a really cool brand who are building a football boot in public, i.e. he's vlogging, the owner is vlogging the entire thing on Instagram. And so you're able to see all the steps of the development process of their new boot, which is going to be, I think, a turf model. So it's going to be really nice, wide fit, K leather, some other things. But the construction of the football boot is essentially I don't have any on me, but it's essentially the midsole / removable sock liner attached to like a knit. Imagine the compression fit tunnel system inside of the F50, but it's a knit, and then they basically put that inside the boot instead of a removable sock liner. So it's sort of like it's almost like a glitch, Adidas glitch style thing, but obviously very different. You guys will have to go and look him up online, look 11 football up online. But I think it's cool. It'll be interesting to see how it performs. And obviously for me, again, speaking of context and why things are different, some reviewers will be like, this is the greatest thing ever and it's really cool, which is awesome. I am going to be skeptical until I actually try it and see if it's worth playing in compared to, other things on the market. Now, if they start with a FG model, if they go with an FG model at some point, that's when it really gets interesting for me. I'm sort of, turf is cool, but I just don't review them all that often because I don't personally wear them all that often. So good question though. Chris asks, what was the first camera you used to start your YouTube video for someone starting their boot review channel? Nice, Chris. Good luck. This is a good question, and it's a very simple one. I was on what generation was it? A GoPro Hero 8 Black, maybe? I think that's what it was called. Yeah, just a GoPro. Took some footage with my phone at the time as well. And then, yeah, that was the first one. And then I upgraded like a year and a bit in, I think, to an APS-C Sony camera, which was amazing. And I totally got the bug in terms of filmmaking. So that I absolutely love it. So yeah, GoPro. Pratik asks, I got the Morelia Proto and Neo Betas from the Innovation Pack. Both feel half a size too big. Which should I keep? Which would you keep? Neither of them if they don't fit you. That's a very simple question, it seems like. Okay. Dewey asks, what's your top 5 boots with the best lockdown? The asterisk on this question is the best boots for lockdown are going to be the ones that actually fit your feet the best and that have laces, right? So that's your answer right there. But if I was to say, if anybody was to jump in a pair of boots, and again, they have to be current, and what would those 5 be for best lockdown? In no particular order, F50, because that upper fiber touch doesn't stretch, and it's got compression fit tunnel. Alpha 2, obvious. Ultra 5 and Ultra 5 Carbon. Ultra 5 Carbon in particular is nuts. The lockdown is crazy, but that's also because the sole plate is so stiff, nobody can ever use it. The Asics Acros 3, because that synthetic weave material is super, super stiff in a good way. Like it molds really well, but it just is it doesn't stretch at all. And then I was trying to put a little bit of flavor into this one, so I'll put the Neo 4 Beta because I think the lockdown that you get from that boot is pretty sensational. So those would be my 5. If I were to take one off the list, it would be the Neo 4 Beta, and I would maybe add in, maybe the Razor. The Skechers Razor is pretty locked in. Yeah, that's probably what I would say. Yeah, probably Skechers Razor if it's not going to be the Neo 4 Beta. And then at And then Dandy Hippo, nice name. Since we are approaching peak boot by your beloved Japanese manufacturers, Mizuno, will there be any actual innovation or will the products get worse in the future? This is, I think, respectfully, this is very short-sighted. And I think that if you look at the history of Mizuno, you look at the history of brands like Adler, you will see that they have actually been improving slowly over time. Boot brands like Nike, Adidas, and Puma try to do this. Try to spike. Try to get the quick short or the quick win or I want to double my money overnight. Whereas the slow, welcome to a great theme for life, the Japanese brands are going with a sustainable and very, very tried and true type of investing strategy, or basically development strategy, right? The same could be said for investing. The amount of people, this is actually an amazing comparison. So in the world of investing, if you were to invest in some stock, this is not trading advice, by the way. This is not investing advice. I don't know what I'm doing with money, blah, 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 right? I'm going to say all those disclaimers. If you were to invest in the S&P 500 or things like that, you would, over the course of a 30-year period, which is the time that Mizuno's been around, well, 40 years, but you get the idea, you would have averaged about, I think it's about 7 to 8% a year with peaks and troughs, but like it's net positive. So if you leave your money in there and you just keep investing a little bit over time, 7 to 8% over time. You look at crypto people, and for the most part, you get insane spikes in some of these cryptocurrencies and some of these trading currencies and trading other random things, day trading, all that stuff. You'll get huge peaks and huge troughs. And the number of people that are actually making money is very, very, very small. So translate that to the Nike, Adidas, Puma of the world who are trying to do huge hits over and over again as opposed to small incremental improvements. And then we get small incremental improvements from the Japan brands. Guess who's going to be more successful over time? You're right. The person who invests in slow development over time. That's just how it works. So to answer your question directly, no, we will not see them get worse. We will see them either plateau a little bit or continue to improve in ways that you or I cannot even think of at the current moment. All right, y'all. That has been a fabulous podcast. It's probably the best one we've done so far, including all the crazy boots. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Reminder that there is a discount code for WeFoot grip socks in the description box below, as well as the opt-in and interview for the Pro Blueprint if you are somebody who is ready to take your game to the next level with the top talent around the world. All right, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.